Chapter 1, Still on the Run. Pyper, San Diego. It had been a week since we started running away from Niveton, and although the world was full of adventures, and I was always a lover of an excellent one, there was a part of me that longed for home, back in my mother's arms and onto my father's lap. Cisus was shining brightly in the sky, and I knew that Mayo and Kino were both tired by now. "Do you want to stop for a while?" I asked. "I thought you'd never ask," Mayo said, obviously exasperated. "Wait, not here," Kino said. He looked around, and when nothing seemed to stir, he finally pointed to a tall tree. "I think it's better if we climbed up that tree." I looked above, concerned for Mayo's sake. Just as I thought this, I heard him grumble. "Easy for you to suggest climbing," he said. But before I could open my mouth to encourage him, Mayo started climbing the tree. Kino followed suit. As soon as we were all settled on a thick branch, I opened my pack and took out some fruits. We started eating. "Do you think Dogen will still be able to find us?" Mayo asked. "No doubt about it," Kino answered. "But as long as we're invisible, it would be hard for him to spot us. Let's hope it's only him who's after us. If Nivens joined him, he would still find us even if we stay invisible," I said. "Can we talk about what happened at the festival?" Mayo said. Kino flushed. "I don't know if I want to." "Mayo's right," I butted in. "We have to keep talking about it so that we can piece the puzzle together." Kino nodded slowly, his reluctance showing obviously. The Emperor was watching the children present their special abilities. "Nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary," Mayo began. "But when your turn came," he said, glancing at Kino, "he was surprised to find out you had Distantecus." "It is a great power, although I didn't really possess it," Kino said. "Still, it was enough to make the Emperor enraged," I said. Mayo and Kino nodded while chewing on their fruit. "Wait, I was the one who saw everything that happened," Mayo said. The Emperor was surprised, but his face did not change. He only moved forward in his seat. "You saw that level of detail?" Mayo nodded quickly and grinned. "I'm very observant." "But, that wasn't when the Emperor got mad," Kino said. "Yeah," I said. "It had something to do with who your mother is." Kino raised his eyebrows and stopped chewing. "Huh?" "Yeah," Mayo agreed. "Don't you remember? He asked who your mother was, and when you told him her name, that's when he ordered your—" "You know," Mayo stopped. I knew it was difficult for him to utter what he wanted to say. "My death, Mayo," Kino said after a moment's pause. "But why?" I sighed, shaking my head. "That's where it all got confusing. I don't know why the Emperor did that." "What does your mother do, really?" Mayo asked. Kino was immediately on the defensive. "What do you mean?" "I told you, she's a writer." "No," Mayo said. "I mean, maybe your mother used to be the Emperor's lover or something." I laughed. "That's crazy." Kino looked quite offended now. "That's not possible. Please shut up when you've got nothing good to say, Mayo." But Mayo kept on talking. "There's some logic to what I'm saying. I mean, who is your father? Do you even know?" Kino blushed furiously. He swallowed. I could tell that he was uncomfortable with the subject. "I don't know. I only asked my mother once, and she went berserk. She said that he was a good man." "Ha! A good man," Mayo said. "That certainly doesn't fit the Emperor's description." I chuckled. "You two are going to be great storytellers. But please, get back here. Stay with me and think of more logical reasons." "It's not funny, Pyper," Kino said. "You keep on laughing as though what just happened was amusing." "But it was." "Not that kind of amusing where you get to laugh about it," Kino complained. "Well, that was kind of true. When your friend's life was literally ordered to be cut short, it definitely was no laughing matter." "I'm sorry," I eventually said. "Look, we've got to find the reason for all of this," Mayo said. "Isn't that exactly what we're trying to do now?" Kino said. "We have to know who your father is," I said, feeling inspired. "I think that if we only get to know who he is, then some answers might be revealed to us." "The question is, how do we do that?" Kino said. Mayo eyed him curiously. "Let me take a closer look at you," he said, inching closer towards Kino. You have your mother's hair. And chin. Your eyes. I said, clapping my hands over my mouth. They're not the same color as your mother's. Kino nodded. Wow, thank you for pointing out the obvious, Kino muttered. I mean, it certainly belonged to one of your parents, and since it wasn't your mom's, then that means you got them from your father, I argued. But how many people with green eyes are there? Thousands? Millions? That isn't good enough to start with. It doesn't lead us anywhere, Kino said, now as exasperated as Mayo was before climbing up the tree. A faint smile spread across Mayo's face. You can rejoice. Now we know the Emperor's not your father, he said. He then chuckled, complimenting his hilarious joke. Soon he laughed louder, and we joined in as well. Now Mayo was throwing his head back and forth, still laughing. Everything happened so quickly after that we barely had time to react. Mayo raised his hands, somehow bumped against the tree trunk, then he slipped. Kino leaned over and tried to catch Mayo's hands, but Kino missed Mayo's fingertips. I panicked and lunged towards Mayo. My hands dipped downwards, and I grasped both his hands with my own, hence, releasing my hold on the tree. With Mayo's weight, it was no surprise that I toppled over just as easily. Mayo pulled at me, and we yelled in unison. The rustling leaves met our frail bodies, and we shrieked as we fell. I was pretty sure that we were going to land heavily bruised. Poor Mayo. I closed my eyes, shouting, and waited for our bodies to hit the ground. Then suddenly, everything seemed to stop. I opened my eyes slowly and saw that we were only a few inches away from the ground. Mayo's body was suspended in the air, and so was mine. Vines wrapped around our bodies and kept us from hitting the dry earth beneath us. Kino climbed down, dangling from a loose vine. He stooped right beside me. It's an awesome power. I'm starting to learn how to control it, he said. I gulped. Indeed, it was a good power. It saved us from the probability of breaking a few bones. Stop admiring your power, and get us out of these tangles, I said. Kino smiled. Mayo, how are you doing down there? Mayo yelped in his usual scared voice. Okay, but not for long. Help me, Kino, he said. I smiled at Kino, breathless. His power was something to be proud of. Go to him first. He's afraid of heights, I said, unable to hold back a chuckle. Even if it's just a few inches. Kino nodded and helped Mayo out of the vines. Mayo still managed to crash to the ground, though. Ouch, he yelped. I laughed. Mayo, Mayo, Mayo. When will you ever grow up? I was with that thought when Kino rose higher, clutching the vines. Then he stopped above me to cut the vines loose. All right, this is going to hurt a little, he said. I was looking at his green eyes. They were sparkling, and they gave me hope that there would be a better life ahead for all of us when we get through this. But first things first. We needed to find out who Kino's father was.